Hello, I'm Sensei Alex Kakio. Thank you for joining me this evening for meditation and sutra study. This evening's practice will consist of a 15-minute guided meditation, a reading from a sutra, followed by a Dharma Talk. The title of today's talk will be "The Purposeless Life is the Happiest Life." Before we get into that, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I post talks in the future. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that'd be great too. Okay, so I'll give you a moment to get in position for our 15-minute guided meditation. The only rule is that you need to be comfortable. You need to be in a position that you can hold for at least 15 minutes without moving. If you'd like to lie down, that's fine. However, please don't fall asleep. If you'd like some instruction, what I like to do is sit cross-legged on the floor or on a cushion. Left hand goes palm up in the lap. Right hand goes palm up over the left. Back straight. Eyes can be open or closed. If we want to have them open, that's fine. Simply point them downwards at a 15 or 45 degree angle towards the floor to eliminate visual distractions. And we'll begin by breathing in and out through the nose. Breathing in this way engages the parasympathetic portion of our nervous system. It tells our body that we're safe and we can relax. On every inhale, we poke at our belly button slightly, as if we had a large meal. On every exhale, we just relax. If we're wondering what to do with our thoughts, we simply bring our focus to the physical sensations of our breathing. The air moving in and out of our nostrils. The feeling of our belly expanding and contracting. The feeling of our clothing against our skin. We'll breathe in this way for about a minute. I'll keep time, and if our mind wanders, that's okay. We simply say hello to our thoughts and bring our focus back to our breathing. Wonderful. Now we'll add a visualization to our meditative exercise, visualizing a fire burning in our belly, in the space behind our belly button. This fire burns like a campfire in the woods, and it's our favorite color. If we like blue, the fire is blue. If we like red, the fire is red. Now with every inhale, we envision ourselves breathing in through the nose, filling our lungs with air. With every exhale, we visualize ourselves breathing out through the nose, blowing on this fire, feeding it oxygen like we would a campfire in the woods, making it bigger and brighter with every breath. This fire represents our spiritual energy. It's our own enlightened nature. And we're going to feed air to that nature for about 2 minutes. Breathing in and out through the nose. I'll keep time. No need to worry about that. Good work. Everyone's sitting so quietly and so still. Now we'll use the energy we've developed to increase the visualization, sending a channel of energy down into the center of the earth. This energy channel goes from our belly, where our own enlightened nature is found, down to the center of the earth, where it finds an energy that's identical to our own. If our fire is blue, the earth's fire is blue. If our fire is red, the earth's energy is red. The Buddha reached down to the earth 2,600 years ago for support, to realize enlightenment. And now we'll do the same. With every inhale, we breathe in through the nose and pull energy up from the earth into our belly. mixing that energy with our own. And with every exhale, we breathe out through the nose, continuing to blow on the fire of our enlightenment, growing and magnifying the energy we find there. We breathe in and pull energy up from the earth, blending it with our own energy in our belly. With every exhale, we blow on that energy, amplifying it and building it up. We'll breathe in this way for about 2 minutes. And if our mind wanders, that's okay. Just bring our focus back to our breathing and to the visualization. Wonderful. Now we'll continue by sending a second channel of energy up from our belly, all the way to the top of our head. So we have one channel of energy going from our belly down to the center of the earth. Second channel going from our belly up to the top of our heads. In the middle, we have the fire of our own enlightened nature. And with every inhale, we'll breathe in through the nose, pulling energy up from the center of the earth, storing it in our belly. With every exhale, we relax, pushing that energy up out the tops of our heads until it explodes like a volcano. Showering every part of us in healing spiritual light. You breathe in, energy comes up to our belly. We breathe out, it goes up, 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 out the tops of our heads, showering every inch of us in healing spiritual light. We faced many challenges over the week, and this is our chance to send healing wherever it's needed. We'll breathe in this way for about a minute. I'll keep time. Excellent. Now it's time to bring our meditation to a close. Slowly, gently closing off that channel of energy to the tops of our head. Pushing the energy down, down, down to our belly. Next, we gently close the channel of energy going down to the center of the earth. Maybe we give a silent bow, thanking the earth for helping us in our practice. Pulling the remainder of that energy up into ourselves. Now we focus on our belly, on the fire burning there, reminding ourselves that we can call on our enlightened nature whenever we need to. But for now, it's time to let the visualization fade and come back into our bodies. We do this by moving our heads gently to the left, then to the right, back and forth. Feeling the physical sensations in our neck. Then we come back to center. Roll our shoulders forward. And back. So finally we let them hang limp towards the floor. If our eyes are closed, we open them. I'll give you about 30 seconds to do that. Thank you so much for staying with me today. That was very helpful. Okay, now we'll move into our sutra reading. We'll be reading from The Center Within by Reverend Gyome M. Kubose. Not necessary to have a copy of the sutra yourself, but it can be useful if you'd like to follow along. Today's reading comes from page 47, and it's called The Purposeless Purpose. Our way of life in American culture is purposeful and goal-oriented. If there is no purpose in something, we judge it useless. In today's modern life, a purposeless action is considered meaningless. A reporter from a local newspaper came to our house to interview my wife about the Japanese tea ceremony. This reporter continually asked, "What is the meaning? What for? Why do you do that? What is the purpose of that?" This kind of question was directed at everything in the making of tea, at every gesture, every implement. Without thinking or deliberating, my wife finally replied, "No meaning. Meaningless meaning. It is purposeless. Purposeless purpose." The interviewer was very much intrigued by this reply. On the other hand, my wife was intrigued by the reporter's obsession with meaning and purpose. Why did the reporter need to continuously ask, what is the meaning, the purpose? Later, my wife confided to me that, although she had never thought of it before, she and the newspaper reporter were living in very different worlds. In addition to purposelessness, there is another side to life. In addition to purposefulness, there's another side to life, purposelessness. Both aspects are true. Being purposeful is well suited to our materialistic society. In order to accomplish things, we must have purpose. Yet the purposeless way is also a beautiful way. A flower blooms, a bird sings, a child plays. A biologist might claim that a flower blooms to attract insects, which then spread the pollen. But the flower itself cannot help but bloom as it does. There is no intention. Life itself is purposeless. Water flows effortlessly. It cannot help but flow. That is the way it is. Effortless effort, purposeless purpose. This is the real way of life. Although nothing can be accomplished without effort, the Buddhist way is effortless effort. When you love. There is no purpose. Why do we ask for meaning? Of course, in our social life, we do ascribe meanings to things and events, but with regard to the essence of life, it just is. If we do something from the beginning with purpose and meaning, then it becomes quite rigid. Meanings and reasons may be given later, but the doing is the purpose itself. If we continually live in the midst of purposeful, directed activity, soon we feel pressured and must enters our lives. There is no naturalness. This is the very reason Buddha taught that the essence of life just is, as it is. We should learn the purposeless way of life, purposeless doing. A utilitarian person would say that is nonsense. However, nonsense is important in life. Too much intelligence or too much efficiency can create trouble. So we must learn non-intelligence, which is superintelligence. True life is purposeless. To realize this truth of life is Buddhism. In one sense, that is purpose. In another sense, it is purposeless. Life is always like that. It is inclusive. If we analyze it, it becomes two. But the reality is always one. Here and now, time and space, this very point is all-inclusive. Only when we analyze do we have different directions. True reality is natural and purposeless. Why not enjoy the naturalness of life? The doing itself is the end fulfillment. In this state, everything is at ease. This is the state of meaningless meaning. It has no meaning, and yet, in another sense, it has tremendous meaning. It is life itself. When one just is, one forgets all other things. One forgets the self, it is said, To learn Buddhism is to know oneself. To know oneself is to forget oneself. One just is. This state is perfect naturalness. A state of meaningless meaning and purposeless purpose. This is what the Buddha taught. Purposeless purpose. It's one of those things in Buddhism that seems like a bit of a misnomer, almost like a miscommunication. We must have purpose by having no purpose. The difficulty is the way. It can all be frustrating and confusing at times, but there's a real wisdom in what Reverend Gilmay is teaching here. And I know that because I, for a majority of my life, lived a very purpose-driven life. So I grew up in school, and I was told going to school that we had to get good grades in middle school so that we could get into AP and honors classes in junior high. So I did that. And then I was told I had to get good grades in junior high so I can pass, my SATs, ACTs, etc., which I would need to take in high school. But the prep for that started in junior high. In addition, there were college level classes that I needed to qualify for. So grades were very important, extracurriculars were very important, so I did that. Enter high school. Well, now I'm trying to get into college. So again, grades, extracurriculars, have to do it. Very important, very purpose-driven, right? So I'm planning my day, I'm planning my itinerary, the classes I'm going to take, the extracurriculars, the sports I'm going to take, the clubs I'm going to join, not based on what I actually want to do, not based on what I enjoy doing, but on what will look good on a college application, or will help me get scholarships. So I do that, I get into college, and then college is all about getting a job. So we have to join the right organizations, we have to get good grades, take the right classes to make ourselves marketable in the job sphere. So once again, very purpose-driven. I have goals, things I'm wanting to accomplish, right? In addition to this, I'm also, at the same time, I'm serving in the United States Marines. I'm in the reserves at this point. And the Marine Corps, or any military service for that fact, again, very purpose-driven. Every evolution, every training, we're trying to accomplish something. Trying to learn something that will help us in a deployment, that will help us use various types of equipment. We're trying to get promoted. How do I get that next grade, that next rank? So I'm doing all of this, and I'm successful at it. I do a fairly good job, and I graduate from college, and I've checked all of the boxes. Everything looks good. And then 2008 happens. And for some of you, 2008 means nothing. For some other people, 2008 means everything, because that was when the bottom fell out of the housing market. The whole economy just went to crap. And this is the job market that I entered when I left the Marine Corps, when I left college. And I found out very quickly that my college degree meant nothing. My status as a veteran meant a little bit more, but probably not as much as I hoped it would. I couldn't find a job. I was struggling to pay bills. Long story short, these goals that I had been working towards all of my life, I found out very quickly meant nothing. At least as far as the job market was concerned. Because I was placed in the position that many people find them in, that I needed experience in order to get a job, but I couldn't get a job because I didn't have experience. And my background in the Marine Corps didn't really train me for life as a civilian. So very purpose-driven, very goal-driven, and then I had to come up against the reality that I was lied to. And all the people that told me that if I got good grades and went to college and took on tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt, etc., etc., if I just did these things, if I just hit these check marks, then I'd be happy. And that didn't happen. But I was okay. I figured it out. I got a job eventually. And again, very purpose-driven, right? Because this job isn't this job. You're working to get a new job. So what projects can I get? What assignments? What job titles, etc. that will make my resume look good so I can get promoted? If I can't get promoted, how will this lead into my next company, which will pay more, hopefully, have a better job title? So again, very purpose-driven, very goal-driven. And I, again, was fairly successful at it. Until one day, I realized that as successful as I was being, I was deeply unhappy. Because it turns out, once again, I had been lied to. The cars, the money, the apartment in a good zip code. And it was okay. But that feeling of inner peace that I was looking for just wasn't there. Thankfully, it was around this time that I found Buddhism, and I slowly but surely learned to live what Reverend Guillaume calls a purposeless life. But what is a purposeless life? Well, a purposeless life, to put it simply, is a life where we're not trying to get a reward. Where we don't have goals per se, we don't want anything out of it. Because that is what I'd been looking for all of this time. I wanted that pat on the back. I wanted that reward. I did everything I was supposed to do. Where's my happiness? And the problem is if we live our lives from a materialistic aspect of we're going to check the boxes, we're going to do what society tells us, then the reward is never enough. It never fills that Buddha-shaped hole in our heart because you make money and then you get used to making that amount of money and then you want to make more money. You get an apartment and it's okay, but then you want a bigger apartment. You get a car, but then you want a faster car or a nicer car. Nothing ever lives up to what we think it will. And I experienced this sometimes at that point in my life when I would go to dinner parties with friends. And we'd have conversations that would always start with, well, what do you do for a living? Where do you live? Sometimes if they were very bold, they'd say, what kind of car do you drive? And what we were doing, whether we wanted to admit it or not, is that we were putting ourselves in a hierarchy. Who makes the most money? Who has the nicest place to live? Who has the most respectable job title? And what I found was even though I was quote unquote successful in these endeavors, there was always someone who made more money than me. There was always someone who had a better job, someone who had nicer clothes. And because my happiness rested on having nicer clothes and a faster car and a more respectable job than other people, I was never at peace. Because you can't be at peace if you're constantly comparing yourself to other people. If your purpose is to outshine the guy next to you, what happens when you find someone who outshines you? And what happens if we have this very purpose-driven, this very goal-driven life, is this feeds into our illusory sense of self. This idea that I'm here and you're over there and we are separate and never the two shall meet. And as we feed into that illusory sense of self, we become more and more and more separated from the world around us. Instead of feeling supported by our family and friends, we feel threatened by them because it's Thanksgiving and we're going to see our cousin and he has a family and kids and I'm single. We're going to see our parents and they're going to ask about how the job is going. And I don't like my job, but they do. So what am I supposed to tell them? Our sense of self can be very damaging to our sense of inner peace. And it's funny because I actually experienced this in high school. So I'm a millennial and we're called the trophy kids because we're the generation where everyone got a trophy. And I'm old enough to remember life before that and life after that. So it used to be, and I don't know if they still do this, but in high school, they used to give out letter jackets. And if you were a member of the varsity team and you'd done certain things for the team, you got a jacket. And then you got a letter that you put on the jacket. And it was a status symbol. You were cool if you had a letter jacket. And at some point, they decided, at least at my school, that this was not a good thing to do, that they were making people feel bad. So they decided everyone who played a sport got a letter. Anyone who wanted a letter jacket could buy one. It used to be before then you had to get a letter from the coach saying that you earned it somehow. No, anyone who wants a letter jacket can buy it. Anyone who plays a sport or does an activity gets a letter. The idea being that, well, if everyone gets this, then everyone will be happy. And quite the opposite occurred. Because it turns out nobody wants a letter jacket if everyone gets one. That defeats the purpose. Someone has to lose if we have this illusion of a separate self. Otherwise, our winning has no meaning. And of course, if we're living a life where someone has to lose, then how do we live in concert, in comfort with each other? Now, that said, obviously, we do live in the world. We have to have jobs. We have to earn money. We have to do things. We have to talk to people at dinner parties and answer questions like, what do you do for a living? How many bedrooms do you have in your house? We can't escape this. So if we can't completely eliminate our sense of self, because that's what gets us through our day, what we in Buddhism try to do is we try to soften our sense of self. We have it, but we understand it's not the whole picture. I have a job to earn money, yes, but my job isn't me. I have a home, and I try to keep it nice and be comfortable. I want to be in a safe place, but my home is not me. And because I have that nuance there, I'm not threatened by other people who have a nicer home or a better job because there's no competition there. I'm not my job. So I don't care if someone has a better job than I do. This is what the story is trying to get at, is the idea that we can drink tea and have a tea ceremony without trying to make a better tea than the next person. Without trying to map out every portion of the ceremony to say how much better we are than others because we hold our teacups at this angle instead of that angle. Now, it's important to note, however, we don't stop drinking tea. The tea ceremony in Japan is very formal, very methodical. So we give our all to the tea ceremony, but we do that simply to drink tea. Not to be better than anyone else. Purposeless purpose. And it's the same thing with our job and our home. We give our all to these things. We do our job to the best of our ability. We care for our home as best as we can. We love our family and our friends with all of our hearts. But we do it just to do it, not because, well, if I love them, they'll love me back. If I get this promotion, then I'll be one up over my neighbor. That's the difference there. So we don't have no purpose. We have a purposeless purpose. We live just to live. And in Buddhism, there are some things we do to soften our sense of self. I talk a lot about seated meditation and chanting. And these are powerful for a couple of reasons. Chanting is, a devotional practice. It's not about us. It's about the chanting. It's about the community we're chanting with. We sit down on the cushion and we chant, and we get up from the cushion and we've gotten nothing out of it at all. What we have done, however, is we've expressed devotion to something outside of ourselves, something larger than ourselves. So in the Nimbutsu chant, Namo Amida Butsu, we express gratitude. And we don't express gratitude for anything we've received necessarily. We express gratitude simply to express gratitude. Again, purposeless purpose. Reverend Soga Ryojin once said that through the expression of gratitude, we find gifts. So we're not looking for a reason to chant. We chant just to chant. And as we chant, as we express gratitude, we realize, oh wow, I do have a clean, safe place to live in. Oh wow, I do have a job that allows me to care for myself and my family. I'm chanting Nimbutsu and I realize, oh, my spouse made dinner for me this evening and it was delicious. Purposeless purpose. It's in the doing that we lose or soften our sense of self. And as we lose that separation between us and the world around us, that connection, that relationship can be built. Meditation is another example of this because there's no purpose to meditation. There is, and I've talked about this in our guided meditation, we're engaging the parasympathetic portion of our nervous system, we're relaxing our body and our mind, but at the same time, no one gets a trophy for meditation. It doesn't matter how hard you try. When you go to work on Monday, no one's going to be impressed by how long you sat on the cushion. It's not going to happen. Speaking from experience, if you go to your teacher and tell them I sat for X number of minutes, seconds, hours on the cushion, not impressed. Because that's not the purpose of meditation. The purpose of meditation is learn to do something without purpose. We meditate just to meditate. And in that meditation, we gain all those benefits that come with meditation. The lack of stress, the calming of mind and body, the realization of our oneness with the universe. But we can only do that if we let go of that goal-oriented portion of our minds. This is why when we go into the temple, there's such strict rules. Bow before you enter the meditation hall. When you enter the meditation hall, you enter with the left foot first. Bow before you sit on the cushion. Bow when you get off the cushion. Hold your hands in a very specific way. It varies from temple to temple, but you can't just swing your arms as you're walking. Why? Because as we give ourselves over to the schedule, again, we soften that sense of self. We learn to have a purpose without having a purpose. We do things just because. Why do we use 4 bowls in the oryoki ceremony? I don't know. We just do. Why do my chopsticks have to be put in a very specific way before we can end the meal? I don't know. They just do. Purposeless purpose. And what I found in my own life, if I'm willing to let go of that goal-oriented, purpose-driven part of my brain and just do things just to do them, is a huge weight is lifted off of my shoulders. I'm able to do things I'm doing without thinking about this other thing I should be doing. If I'm washing dishes, I can just wash dishes and not think, well, I'm washing dishes, but I actually should be outside cutting the grass. Or I'm cutting the grass, but what I really need to do is, I don't know, wash the tractor. Yeah, all those things need to be done, but what I'm doing right now is just as important and just as necessary. So I'm only doing this thing right now. And that's it. And that's all I need to do. Because I'm not comparing myself to anyone else. I'm not trying to win a trophy as the best dishwasher or the best lawn care or the best tractor guy in the world. I'm just living. I see this in my animals, the cats especially, are very active and they're moving around and stuff when they're hungry. But once you feed them, once their needs are met, they pass out on the couch or in the desk chair. Cats know how to live a life of purposeless purpose. I need to eat, I need to sleep. I'm done. What would our lives be like if we could live that way? Now, that said, it is hard to live without purpose. To live that live a life of, it's even hard to say, a life of purposeless purpose. It's hard to do because we live in a society that tells us I need to get good grades, I need to get the letter jacket, I need to get into college, I need to get the job, I need to boom, 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 boom. So out of their compassion, what the Buddhist patriarchs and matriarchs have done is they've given us small purpose. Little things we need to accomplish to help us learn that we don't need to accomplish anything. We find this in the Bodhisattva vows. Sentient beings are numberless, I'll save them. Delusions are endless, I'll see through them. The teachings are infinite, I'll learn them. The Buddha way is difficult, I'll walk the path. Now, what's great about the Bodhisattva vows is they're impossible. If the teachings are endless, I can't possibly learn them all. And it's in doing this that we realize the goal isn't to accomplish the goal is simply to try. The goal is simply to do our best. I cannot possibly learn all the teachings, but I'm going to learn some of them. I'm going to learn as many as I can before I pass into parinirvana. I can't possibly save all sentient beings from suffering, but I'll save some of them. Purposeless purpose. And what's the best way to fulfill the Bodhisattva vows? It's through our daily activities. I will never finish washing dishes in this house. I will clean them, and the next day there will be more dirty dishes. If I go with that, with the purpose, with the goal of washing dishes and being done with it, I will be miserable. But if I accept the fact that this is a never-ending task, then I can just wash the dishes. If I understand that taking out the garbage is something I will have to do every week for the rest of my life, then I'm fine taking out the garbage. There's no angst there, there's no irony, because I just understand this is a natural part of life. In the same way that flowers understand that blooming is a natural part of life. Yeah, the bee comes and gets the pollen and flies around, and that's great, but the flower just wants to bloom. Because that's what flowers do. I just want to wash the dishes because that's what you do when there's a sink full of dirty dishes. I just want to feed the cats and the chickens because that's what you do when you have cats and chickens. And when we approach life from that aspect, when we simply try to be the best husband, the best wife, the best street cleaner we can be, without any hope of reward, with any hope of accomplishment, this is my life and I'm going to live it fully and wholeheartedly just because. That weight, like I said, goes off our shoulders. But beyond that, we do end up saving beings from suffering. We do end up seeing through our delusions. We do end up learning the teachings. Because each time I take out the trash, well, now we don't need to live in a home with overflowing trash. Every time I sweep the meditation hall, my sinuses don't act up because there's dust being breathed in while I'm meditating. Every time we cut the grass, we'll always have to cut the grass, but every time we do, the neighborhood is a little bit more beautiful than it was before. And we've made life better for our neighbors who drive by and see our perfectly manicured lawns. Every time we do our job, whether it's a waiter, whether it's a street cleaner, whether it's a programmer, whether it's a speechwriter, we make life better for the people around us. Not by accomplishing any goals, but by simply living our lives as best we can. By living a purposeless purpose. And this is how we find happiness, by letting go of that illusory sense of self and engaging in full relationship with the universe. Amitabha. So that's the talk for today. I hope it was helpful. Just a few announcements. So this was Meditation and Sutra Study. We do it every Wednesday at 7 p.m. broadcast here from this channel. Every Sunday, we do Dharma Sunday, which is a little bit more, or a little less rather, involved. That's me taking something from the news or pop culture and speaking on it from a Buddhist worldview, tying canonical teachings with everyday life. The goal being to give a Dharma talk that deals directly with something that's happening in our world right now. That also happens at 7 p.m. every Sunday, broadcast again from this channel. So I hope to see you there. Until next time, Amitabha.